Raise your hand. Okay, not one. Okay, I was hoping this might turn into an auction where we'd have a few. Folks, the focus of my talk today is to share key thinking that can really drive sales for your business. Who here experiences information overwhelm? Who's on social media here? Okay, so we got to 3 people, 3 out of 100, 4. Okay, that was the auction I was hoping for. Okay, a little bit more engagement. Cheers. Who feels overwhelmed by the content that is in front of them, on their laptops, on your phones? Information overwhelm, attention economy. Who do we trust? If you think of the proliferation of mis and disinformation, what is the agenda? How credible is the source? And this adds a layer to us as businesses in how we communicate and engage with our prospective and existing customers. I absolutely love this quote, and I have to share it with you. It's by Walter Landor, a really established global brand consultancy. And he says, products are made in a factory, but brands are created in the mind. Anyone else find that poetic, or was it just me? I figured it was a safe space, so I could say that. Brands are created in the mind. Martin Newmeyer, a globally renowned brand strategist, speaks about it's not what you say it is, it's what they say it is. It's not what we say it is, it's what they say it is. We can say that we're amazing, but it doesn't really carry water until someone else endorses you. So what we really want to focus on is, what is our brand about? Who are we connecting with? So brands are created in the mind. It's subjective based on that personal engagement. What I thought I would do before going into some examples and particularly key principles is to help explain the dynamic between business, brand, and marketing strategy. So when we think of business, I think we're all clear on what that strategy entails. What are our objectives for our business? Are we looking to move into new markets, launch a new product, drive sales, etc.? Your brand breathes life into your business. Your personality, those key traits. So if I said Coca-Cola, what is that human connection? What do you associate with Coca-Cola? Someone say nutrition. Far from it. Apparently there's sugar in Coke. Who would have thought? Equals happiness. If I said Volvo, safety, I think it's unanimous, exactly that. That's what you want to achieve with your brand. Everyone in the room were in agreement, as per this gentleman, because you said it first, equals safety. That's what we want to ascribe to our brand through our actions. What are our values, our value set? What do we stand for? And it's easy to have values that are cosmetic and on the wall in your office, but when times are tough, you really need to lean into those. So your brand identity and your strategy underpins that. The articulation of your brand strategy is your marketing strategy. Who are you speaking to? How are you speaking to them? What is the frequency? And these are key questions that we need to think about in refining and putting metrics in place to measure what is known as really the efficacy of that translation. So some pillars that I would like to share with you include, and I think it's a really important starting point, is clarity. Are you clear on your brand and marketing strategy? By show of hands, who has a brand and marketing strategy? Okay, out of 100, so no one in this room. 1, congrats. 2, 3, 4, okay, 4, 5. Yusuf, I know you would. We go way back. I think we went to university like 16, 20 years ago. Yeah, we're near the end now. This has been a very short life. Standard Bank categorically has a strategy. Yeah, I see the smiles. Yeah, absolutely. We need to have clarity in what our brand is about. Who are we for? Who is our audience? How are we engaging, both on and offline? So that's the first point. I think we're all familiar with Vida E Cafe. That brand is so clear in what it stands for, and it's consistent in its experience. whether you attend or visit the Vida in Umhlanga or at OR Tambo, there's that golden thread that is maintained, very clear as to what the brand is about and the customer experience and the quality of that coffee. So that's the first one, is clarity. Whoa, I was wondering, this was kind of a transient moment. I'm hearing something behind me. Probably a good thing that that's been lifted. Your audience. Your audience is your core group of consumers that you want to engage with. Is everyone your audience? Should you market to everyone? That wasn't hypothetical, it was the actual question. Should you try to speak to everyone? Categorically, it's a no. Does everyone actually need your product, your service, the brand that you offer? No. So what we need to do is segment our audience. And there are 4 key criteria or variables to consider. You're likely to have some of them in place. The first one is demographics. So you're looking at our consumer in terms of age and life stage. Someone that's age 18 is in a very different world to that of someone that is 80. Their needs are likely to be different. The brands that they consume, their socioeconomic standing, and linked to that, their occupation and income. So we really want to take the time to work out who we are after. While there are physical characteristics to consider, we also want to move into what is known as psychographics. So that's the mindset, the psyche of your consumer. What matters to them? Do you know? Do you know what your ideal client or customer needs or wants? What their pain points are? What their aspirations are? The better we can understand and empathize, the better we can communicate and build longevity with that customer. Another element to think about is behavior. How often do they need to buy that product or service from you? Is it a one and done, or is there longevity? And critically, where are they based? Where your consumer base relevant to you? Is there an opportunity to offer something online, e-commerce? Or is there a strong brick and mortar focus or interpersonal, one-on-one? I would argue that Lyft, anyone flown on Lyft? Okay, so a few. They are very clear as to who their audience is and what their pain point is. One of the bugbears, I think, of travel is how rigid airlines are in terms of being able to change your flights. Anyone experience that? I would argue that Lyft have done a really good job in empathizing as to who their audience is and what's important to them. A few points that I had to share with you. Since we launched SA's most flexible airline, flexibility has become a bit of a buzzword. Here's what real flexibility means when you fly Lyft. Complete peace of mind, knowing that you can change or cancel your booking online. It goes through to changes and cancellations can be made up to 24 hours before departure. So it's these considerations is what translates into a successful brand. So that's audience. The value proposition. I'm sure you've seen nakeds. Sounds so strange saying to an audience, a group of people saying, the word naked. I don't know why. You've seen their marketing. You've seen their campaigns, their communications. Have you seen billboards on the side of the freeway? Have you been targeted on Facebook, LinkedIn? Yeah. Wow. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, it's equally awkward and ingenious. Get naked on your car. It's eye-catching. And when we spoke about attention economy, this cuts through the noise. So what you want to think about is, what is your message? Who's your audience, and how are you engaging? And a critical piece to this lies in what is known, and I'm sure you're familiar with, your value proposition. And for those that aren't familiar, if we were to flip the term, it's a proposed value to your audience. What do you intend or plan to convey? And equally, what is embedded in your point of difference? What differentiates you from your competitor set that makes you compelling? So with Naked, you can get a quote with, I think, up to 90 seconds. I don't know if anyone has actually used the app to get a quote. Very AI orientated, and there's no paperwork, and you're pretty much not working with people. Who thinks that's a joy? That's very antisocial making that comment. They've thought about their audience, what matters to them, and they've differentiated on that basis. Acquisition and retention is another principle that I really would like to share with you. Acquisition, we're looking to acquire customers. Who here is happy with the number of leads that they're getting, number of sales, and are leaving it at that? Hopefully no one. You can never be complacent in acquisition nor retention. So with acquisition, we're looking at how we acquire. What are the marketing activities, tactics, ways to get in front of our ideal client or customer? Who has found in their marketing that the translation are poor leads as opposed to quality? I'm sure we all have experienced that. It ends up being expensive and you're wasting or burning time as a consequence. So we really want to lock down on how we're going about acquiring and what is our qualifying criteria around vetting potential leads. Equally, retention. And a question to think about is, how are you retaining your existing client base or customers, if there's, say, a product leaning? How are you engaging with them? How are you building that relationship? It's a lot more cost effective to look after your existing client base than it is to acquire a new one. So please think about the various ways in which you're building meaningful relationships. That's what's going to differentiate you. And it could be small things, checking in, and it doesn't always have to be work related. It could be wishing them for their birthday or a speedy recovery, God forbid, if they've been in a hospital, whatever the case may be. It's that thought goes a long way in brand building and building that relationship. Superbalist, I absolutely hate this brand, and I hate e-commerce because it just makes things so easy to buy. Anyone burn a hole in their pocket with e-commerce? This is turning into a bit of a therapy session for me, I think. Superbalist, if you've got the app, oh gosh, it's so curated. You see brands you like, and now there's a discount on the price, and there's a limited time frame, so there's urgency, which helps motivate purchase. They're doing a really good job with that. But Superbalist cannot afford to be complacent. And there's stiff competition if you think of the likes of Bash, Take-A-Lot, and increasingly Amazon. We really have to consider how we are marrying acquisition and retention. So that's the point around on that. Your UX, your customer experience. Are you familiar with what this principle entails? Simply put, it is all the slices your customer has with you along that journey. From coming across an ad, word of mouth referral. If you were to take a restaurant, or maybe we use Coastlands as a reference point. From the entrance, receiving your ticket, the parking, walking through to reception, going up in the lift. I think you see the point. Each of these micro moments comprise a brand experience and your experience of that. Are you familiar with the brand Barrows by any chance? So, certainly maybe 50%. So Barrows are a market leader in point of sale. So if you think gondolas within retail spaces like Spa or Checkers, and the brand was born out of Durban. They have considered their UX so carefully. What are the slices that a prospect is likely to experience going onto their website through to engaging with them as a potential client, service provider relationship? This is a screenshot of their website. And as you can see here, they have distilled their 3 audiences for brands, for retailers, and then their connected store offering. Do you know how easy that is if you are a brand where to click? And as you click through, it will then take you to content that pertains to you. They've thought about the 3-second rule in design. Who here has gone onto a website and within a second thought, no, this is not for me? Maybe less than a second. Is that where we're at now? We need to hold our prospects' attention. The person visiting a website needs to be hooked, locked in to what your offering is. And barriers have done that really successfully. So please think about that in terms of the slices. And what I recommend is conducting what is known as a brand audit. So that's a review of all your consumer-facing touch points, your website, Google My Business, the receptionist, taking the calls, the call center. Who's found, if you phone through, I'll just say any brand, certainly that is established and has a call center component, your call is really important to us. This call, we're experiencing high call volumes literally every hour of every day, the entire year. You wait a long time. Next thing, your call's dropped. Those are all slices in the experience. And that presents an opportunity to refine and elevate your brand as a consequence. So that's something to consider, your UX. Consistency. Who here has a really consistent brand? So if you were to think of every touch point that you're communicating both to your audience and internally within your company, who here believes that you are consistent in your brand, in the way in which it communicates, the way in which it looks? Do you have a visual identity in place, or a style guide, or a brand manual? Are you familiar with the terms? Or a CI, corporate identity document? Do you have those? If not, please have one developed. It's typically the role of a graphic designer. It outlines exactly what your logo needs to look like, how it lives across golf tees, hats, digital, the color palette. Even the pigeon outside agrees with me on this one. I don't know if you can hear the pigeon. That was amazing. At least in my head it was. What we need to have is that style guide, and we need to ensure whether we're in the product or service space that we are conveying that. If you work in an interpersonal, or if there's an interpersonal engagement with your client, the documents that you share with them, what is the material, the paper you're using? Does it communicate quality? Are the pages bent? All those small things convey something about your brand. If you want to position yourself as